I hope you stopped the video and played with HTML and CSS. Build something interesting, change colors, shapes, format text, and maybe change size and something else. The best way to learn is to do a lot of practical work. Just use your knowledge and learn something else as well. In meantime as well, it's a good idea is to check other people's work and try to figure out how did they build this and that. I don't expect that you understand fully how all this works, but I think it just opens for you idea how can you use HTML and CSS and what you can do with that. Before you jump into building, you have to check what you have to build and think what is on screen and then try to replicate. For example, here we clearly see this is one panel, and then in that panel we have title, then we have two boxes here inside in another box, and then we have select, and then there is line of text which is dynamic. So when we changing color, it change hex colors here, and then change colors in this box. So it's another box, and this box has some kind of borders as well. So let's try to go and create HTML for this one. So let's go to our test page and we will delete everything here and we'll add something new. We definitely need to leave document type and language, meta tag. Okay, we will change title for color mixer. We can leave styles, we will delete those styles, and actually we can do it straight away. Let's remove all the styles, so we're starting from scratch. Done. Now let's go back and we will delete everything inside in body tag. Let's refresh page and we don't have anything here anymore. Maybe we will change color mixer's name here. So no difference. Now we have white page with our title. Let's add something in. Let's add something like h1 color mixer. Save it and refresh it. Okay, that's a good start. By the way, I think also we should add one more meta tag. Meta and description, content, amazing color mixer. When Google search your page, it will see this description tag. Obviously, you are working locally, it doesn't matter, but just for future, you know that. But now let's go back and see. So we have color mixer and we want it in a box. So let's create around some kind of container. And also I think it's a good idea to make this part in one place and this part in second place, because they are kind of, this is kind of like a thing where we adjusting everything and this is where we will see result. So let's do that now. So we have our title here. Let's wrap around it div tag down and let's call it container. So we will use class and give name container. Nice. And then this will be like a main part. So let's go to main. We have this kind of tag. Let's put it inside. Save it. Nice. Result should go inside here. And we don't need anything inside for now. ID gradient. So I'm adding ID here. And this is because we will use it later to get this element and fill with some values. So what we have so far, go back, refresh. Okay, so we have color mixer and this will be the place where we will show results. And it's a bit boring for now, but let's go forward. So, okay, we have title, we have that. So what is next one? We need those two boxes. So those two boxes we will use input tag and I kind of wrap it in a label and added color as well. So let's try to replicate that one now. Here. I want to wrap them in knobs because this will be block with configs what we can use to change a color. So it kind of makes sense to wrap them. Let's take a label, let's duplicate it. And each label we will add input tag. And this will be type color. Let's see how it looks like in a second. Save it. And let's go there and refresh it. All right, so we have two boxes here. We can change colors already. Right. Okay, we have this one. So let's see what we did so far. This select box we need, and we need this line which will show what colors we choose from, and then the gradient as well. Right. Okay, so let's go back. I think I did one mistake. This is the place where we show color names. Color names. Let's go like that. And that means it goes there because we want together with the selectors. And then here we will, yeah, and this is where we will create, and this is place where we show mixed colors. Now let's see, refresh page. Okay, so color names here, mixed colors there, this is there. So what we're missing? Okay, selects we're missing. All right, let's add those as well. Selects, so far so good. Let's add another label, and let's add here select. So this is where we want to change directions of the colors and give idea as well, directions. And in select, we need to add options, otherwise it won't work. So if we save it and come back, not that one, this one, that's all we have. Okay, so we need to add some of the options. And I'm just copying in, save it nicely, it was already here. So these are all the options. You can stop video and write them as well. So basically what we're saying value is to right, to left, bottom, and so on, so on, so on. And later we will use those values. But for now, if we're going back and refresh, there you are, all the choice. So we have title, boxes, select, this line we need to add, and the gradient box. Okay, so content is already there. Let's go and start to add some styles as well. Now it's time to add some CSS, otherwise this page looks quite sad. First of all, I can clearly see what all things are in the middle of the page. And if we're resizing this one, then box resize as well, but it never goes too big out, so we can use that as well. Let's try go step by step. First of all, close this one. Actually, first things we need to do is, I think fonts are not very nice. These are much nicer, right? So let's do that. Let's go to CSS and add fonts. Okay, so what I did here, for whole body tag, I added font family. And this is actually what Bootstrap using many other sites in just default ones. You can use whatever you like. And I specify what default size 16 pixels, which is actually what usually browsers use as well anyway. And then I say styles and font variance normal, and I choose not black color, but a slightly lighter black, so it's not so strong. And let's see how we change page straight away. Yeah, so we change a little bit color, which is probably very hard to see difference, but there is. And font family. Now we want to put this content in the middle of the screen, and we want to make shadows as well, right? So the content is middle of the screen and some shadows. There is some background pattern, but we will leave it for later. We can add some color if we want to, but about those patterns I will leave it at the very end. Okay, let's try to find out how to do that. So first of all, we need to specify some of the size, right? Let's go back to our index page. So what we call it like container, right? So this is class name. So let's copy this class name. Let's go back to styles and add that class name here. Here we go. We have class name, and now we have to specify some of the size. So one is the max width. So if we specify like width, we would have, let's say 600 pixels. Let's say border 2 pixels solid red. Let's go back, refresh. You see, there is this border, and now we can scroll the page, and this is not what we want, because there is specific size and it won't go below that size, 600 pixels. And also it's not in the middle, right? So we want something a bit smarter. Okay, in that case we simply changing this width with max width. So it will be maximum 600 pixels, but if there is no enough space, it will go smaller. So refresh. Here we go. Now we have something much smarter, right? Okay. Excellent. Now we have to teach that thing to stay in the middle of the screen. How to do that? And there are different techniques how to do it, but one of the techniques would be like margin auto. What it does, it just automatically puts container in the middle. Here we go, like that. But there is some better way how to do it. Maybe not better way, but more modern way. We can use margin inline auto, and that way we will have the same result, but it's kind of like a modern way. Here we go. Lovely. So what we need to do now, we don't have borders really. We have some border radius and box shadow. So add those. All right, let's add those. Here we go. So what we did here, we added max width 600 pixels, padding. This is padding from the line, from the sides of the box you will see in a second. Then margin inline, this is to make element to stay in the middle of the screen. And then we're adding box shadow, which looks very complicated, but it's not so complicated. We will play in a second. And border radius. Let's see all the things here in page. Let's refresh page. Wow, look at that. So let's grab. You remember how to open this one, I hope, yeah? Command Option I, and this will open. Then we will grab this corner and put an element that we want to inspect. So this is our container. There are our styles. So here you can change the styles, and let's see. So let's first check how this works. If we resize it, change it, so box resize. So we can use it however we want. So 600 I put it. Let's leave it like that. Now paddings, it shows like this green border. How far from the borders those paddings will be. Yeah, it's like crazy big number or small. What is rem? Again, I'm going very quickly, I know that. Just try to figure out. So one rem is the we set on a body tag 16 pixels. So one rem in this case is 16 pixels. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you write one rem or 16 pixels. You can also write like that, 0.5 rem. That would be what? 8 pixels. We can do it like 8 pixels. I won't give into details what is the difference. You can try to read up, but just for you to know what there are different sizes. You can use percentage, pixels, rems, ch, and different other things. It's about finding out what there are those things. We will learn later in some different course what is the difference between pixels and rems and all that. But today's aim is just to give the understanding that there are those things. So in this case, I'm using one rem, which we know what this is 16 pixels. Margin inline we already know. This will put this box in the middle. And then box shadow. Okay, let's start from the end. This is the color. So you can change color. And you see it slightly change border colors, right? And this is how strong this color should be, like 50 or 100 pixels percent. So this is very strong, and 50 would be very nice, and then 20 would be nearly hard to see it, and so on. So from 0 to 100%. And what about those? So those are saying dimensions where this shadow should go. Let's make it strong for now. And let's put 100%. Now, let's start from this side. It's easier to understand. If I'm making this number bigger, this shadow becomes very strong. And this makes this shadow like blurring in more or less if you want to. So by changing those values, you can make this shadow appear stronger or less strong. So if I take in like 0, now it's just a border really, right? You can't see any difference between border and the shadow. So if we're making like that, we're kind of blurring in. And these ones, you know, to add pixels, obviously. These are directions. So this is X direction. So it goes to the right side. And this goes to the up or down. And you also can use negative values. So you see how it change. Yeah. And this is how you can add crazy big shadow. So now it feels like this box is somewhere out. Okay, let's go back. Let's save it. We're just using simply a little bit gray and 0.5. And it kind of goes blurring around all the box. So it's from all the sides coming out. Okay, that's our box. So far, so good. We have title. Now we need to style these elements, and that's gonna be interesting. So now we want to change those knobs here. What are the biggest difference here? First of all, they are in the middle, right? And this is below. So all of this should be aligned in the middle. That's very simple. Let's do that first. We're just writing main and text align center. So grabbing this element. That should be done. There we go. So if you see, we can grab elements by tag name or by class name. If there are class names, we're adding this dot in front. So main is our tag name. This is tag name, what we're using to style, and this is body as well, tag name, and this is class name, container, right? So that's things to remember. Okay, let's go back. So we have main text, all right. What we want to do now, we want these ones be under each other. Okay, let's do that. And I will do very silly and simple way. I will add one more element which will move this down. Let's do just like that. So you will learn something different as well. So we have one label, second label, and we want this one on the other lane. How about we adding this tag? Refresh. Here we go. BR element represents a line break. Here we go. Okay, so we have labels for blah blah blah. We don't need in this case this one because we won't use them, but we need for these ones to explain that this is left. Input stays like that. This is right. So we know which one is which. Let's save it. Any change here? No change. We didn't change anything, right? Now we want to style all those things. Okay. So we have two labels which represents color and we want to style them. So let's go and style them. We will use in this case label tag and colors class name. So in this case, this is example how I can specify. Let's say we have multiple labels, but we are interested only in these ones. So what we're missing, we need class name as well here, right? So let's add class colors on one and another. We could use only class name as well. The reason why I'm making more specificity. Basically, we can do like that as well. It would work. But for us to easier to read, I will use like labels colors, so we know what we're speaking about labels here. So we got them. Let's see if we got them really. So what you can do always, you can make a test. Solid red. Let's see. You see there is around this red one. That's what we draw around. Okay. Now let's add some CSS and I will explain all of them. Here you are. So first line display inline, which will make them like a block level elements, but they will be next to each other. And this is what we want. If I refresh page, Then we're adding paddings. We already know what this is 8 pixels and this is 16 pixels. So we're just using half of 16 and 16. Background white. We have white, indeed. Cursor pointer. So we change cursor once we're on the element. So now we have everything here. If I clicking, nothing happens yet. If you click directly, then some change happens. And then we say border 1 pixel solid gray. This is color and transition. Transition, that's something we will do with animations later on. So when background color change, it will do this change in 1 second. If you come here, you see if I changing color to something else. You see this color change, but not directly, but with some kind of slow motion, right? Let's do again. It's not so easy to see. Okay, red. Nice. Yeah. So we want to replicate later on that one as well. At the moment, it doesn't change anything. We will do it a bit later. So these things done here. And I totally understand this is maybe too much information, but at least you know what there are display where you can put some kind of different ways how to show. Let's just try and play again. That's the simplest way, isn't it? So let's grab this element. What will happen if we say display block? So if you're changing to display block, this would go full size because it takes maximum size of the place where it can go and expand. It's the same like H1 element. So it's a display block element, so it goes maximum. This as well, no labels as well. But we don't want labels to go full size. So we say inline block. Here we go. And then it will be only expanding as much as they need to be. So by those paddings, if you remove paddings, they disappear, right? So we're saying, okay, be this size paddings, and that's the size what they're taking now. And we're saying background white. If we would change to background something else, see if I'm changing, it's actually doing slowly. That's because we're having this transition here. And then we have border and cursor pointer, which will change it to cursor on the label. So we need to change it also on input tag as well, right? Now I want to add cursor pointer as well for the input field. So let's add it. All right, so this is now there. Let's test it. So cursor pointer. Let's refresh. And cursor pointer. So now all of this is. Only thing is we don't have this click event here. So that's something we need to work out later. Next, we need to style this select, I think. Actually, it should be mixed down a little bit. Yeah, there is no gap. Let's push it down as well. So for that, how can we push it down? Let's see. I want this element to go down a little bit. So from label probably. So if I take label, margin, top, like 10 pixels. Nothing change. Okay, because this is inline element, it won't change. So we need to add block. All right, so now it's changed. But how can we grab this element exactly? Because if we take these elements, these are colors, right? We don't want label itself to take, so we need to take it differently. So let's say we will take labels, but not the colors. Margin top, 4 pixels, and display block. Let's see how it looks like. Nice. So what will happen if I will remove this one? So now he's saying that every label have to have 4 pixels and to be block. And if we refresh, this moves down and this moves down. We don't want that. We want only that one. So let's move it back. So we want only this label, not the other ones. So all the labels which doesn't have color. So we don't have anything else on page. So there are only 3 labels. 2 of them has class color. We're ignoring those, but the rest will have this style. So it will go there. Okay, but I don't like the size of this. I need bigger one. So let's add this one. How can we add that? So if we're going here, this is select, right? So let's write for select something. So we write select, and we're saying what kind of size we want, and for font size we want a little bit bigger. So we have 16 pixels, so we have a little bit bigger. Let's refresh. All right, so far so good. We can change even, but nothing changed on the screen. That's okay. Now the last bit from HTML and CSS side. So I think we're missing something here. Let's go back. So we want this box to be there as well. Okay, so if we're looking on this box, so it has to be inside into this block, and also it will have maximum size, but we have some kind of height. All right, let's try to replicate that one. Let's go to in HTML and see where it is. Is it in correct place actually? Probably not, because we want it inside in container. So let's move it inside in container, but below main tag. So if we save it and refresh it, now it's inside, right? So that was my mistake. So I added it inside in this. By the way, you know what, you can close some tags here as well, which helps if we have not so much place. So we have p tag here inside in container, just below the main tag. Now it's nice. Next, we don't need anything here. I guess we need to grab this element. Since we have only p tag, we could grab is also by p tag itself, but we will use it later in JavaScript, and it's much easier to grab something by ID. Let's call it mix. We're not giving ID, we're not giving class, we're giving ID. And now we have to go to CSS and use this ID. So you know what we can grab by class names with the dot, yeah, or container like here. And now another way is we can grab by IDs, and this is how you grab by IDs. Very similar like class, but instead of dot, we're using hash. The things about IDs, you can use only one ID on a page with that specific name. So there could not be two mix. Then you have to write mix one or whatever different name, but not the same. That would be an error. Class names you're using when you know what you will use on different elements, and maybe you want to reuse the same style on different place. Let's say like a button, right? Then, for example, IDs you're using for a very specific reason, and mostly you're using because you want to grab it by JavaScript later on. Let's add some kind of color so we can see what's going on. Purple. Why not? So at moment purple, we won't see anything. Why? Because there is empty element. So let's add some kind of height. Let's go again for min height, 200 pixels, let's say. Here we go. Now our box is there. But if we go in here, we can see there are rounded corners, and there are some kind of, if we going in, it's like, looks like it's behind somewhere hiding, right? So that's an inset box shadow, which is not outside, but inside. So it's called inset. You see, this is going from like outside. This goes like underneath. So let's try to replicate that one. And for that purpose, we will use box shadow again. Inset. Here you are. So we're using box shadow inset. So it's saying inside. Let's see how it looks like that. Let's change this purple to something different, like yellow, so it's easier to see. Here we go. Let's try to play it. Let's grab this element and see what's going on here. So if we remove this inset, what will happen? And it should be outside. You see the difference? So now it's outside, and now it's saying now I want inside. So it moves the shadows, like making this element hiding behind, which is a nice effect. So what we're missing now? We're missing border radius. Border radius. Oh, 8 pixels. Rem. Okay, like that. So let's copy this line. Let's copy. Command C. Go back and just add it. There you are. Refresh page. Done. Sorted. But we don't want this color, right? We want gradient. So for that, we will use gradient. So you see at the moment we're using background yellow. We don't want that one. we want to say background image where we're explaining the browser. So linear gradient to right, and we're taking red and green. Let's refresh. Here we go. And you see, this is exactly what we replicate here as well. So to right. So from red to green to right. If you would change it to left bottom, it would change, but not now because we don't have this yet. We have to build it, and that's the next topic. So for now, we have our color. Oh, okay, one more thing. We wanted some kind of background color here, right? For now, just let's add something very, very subtle. I don't know. Let's take this one, but we will change it now. I don't want. Just a little bit of gray, I think, because we don't know what kind of colors comes, so what works. But you can use whatever you like, so white smoke, why not? Okay, white smoke. Container, let's add background. Here you are. Refresh, there we go. So we have some kind of pattern. We will speak about this one later on. Right, so this is our color mixer done as far as I see. And now we need to ask help for JavaScript to add the rest of the things what we want to create here.